We're going to get started on a tumbler tonight. We're going to be doing a buffalo plaid, and it's going to have a peekaboo, and it's going to have a bleach splatter, and we're going to be using some tacking on it. So it's going to take us 3 parts to do this. So tonight will be part 1. Tonight won't be very long because tonight we'll be doing our base to start our buffalo plaid, and we're going to be using Black Bear glitters for this one. It's going to be a buffalo plaid. A little trusty card. I always suggest some of you that may have not watched before, this is something that I always do. I make a card on every cup that I make, and I make notes of what I use on it so that if I ever have to go back and do another one, then I know what colors that I use instead of having to guess what colors I use. The internet's not cooperating tonight, but it usually straightens out once we get on into the process. And I'm going to see if I can pull you up on my computer so I can see if I've got you lined up so we can get, when we turn you down, that we can get the cup so we can see. And I'll try to kill a little bit of time so maybe some more can get on, and so maybe the internet will quit messing up, and we'll see if we can get you pulled up. Hey, look at there. I can't believe it pulled up that quick. We've been having a hard time getting it to pull up, but it is pulled up tonight. So I'm going to now click on it and see if maybe we can see some comments, and that way, as hopefully I may can look at some and I may not. Most of the time when I'm working, I can't look at comments, and I go back and answer any questions that you have after the live is over. So any questions boring you, just know that I will go back and answer every question. I'll answer every question and every comment after the live's over. I'll either do it tonight or I'll do it first thing in the morning. It just depends on what's going on when we get through with the tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and turn you down and we'll get started. Now I'm going to give my computer a little bit of time so I can see how the setup, if it's showing where it's supposed to show. Okay. Alright, now this is what we're going to be using tonight. This will be the first one that we use. This is Black Bear's glitter, and it's Bare Necessities collection, and it's red velvet. It's a beautiful, beautiful glitter, red velvet. I prepped my cup. I taped the top and I taped the bottom. I sanded, and then I sprayed it with red paint. I'm going to be using red glitter, so I want to have a base. And you can see there's right in there, there's a little bit of a run. I'm not going to worry about that because we're going to cover it up with glitter. And I will be using epoxy method. I always measure with spoons, and I use 1/8 of a teaspoon. 1/8 of a teaspoon glitter method. That's what I mix for any size cup that I do. For any size cup that I do. See, it looks like it is pausing. I'm not sure, but anyway, we'll go back and you can see I just do that. 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm going to use in part A. Takes very little. The mistake they make, I see it says it's interrupted again, is used, so you don't want to use too much epoxy when you're doing the epoxy glitter method. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can get that to prop up on that. For some reason tonight it's not wanting to stay up. Don't want it to spill. As I go, I always put my top on my epoxy because I don't want it to spill. Now this, normally I would stir, if I'm working on minutes, if I'm working on a 30 ounce, I stir the epoxy for 4 minutes. But tonight, since we're using this very little bit, and now I'll try to see if there's any. I see that the computer is still, the internet is still going on and off, but maybe it will be okay, folks. It's been correcting itself. So maybe it will tonight too. Everybody got all your orders for Christmas done, or got them lined up, or how's it going for you for Christmas and your orders that you're doing Christmas? I've got and that's be finishing up my Christmas orders. I've got I did a live sale Sunday, and so I've still got a few cups that are last minute needs. Maybe it'll be something somebody can use. And everybody that I'm watching myself, I'm finding that it's happening with everybody problem. So I don't know what it is that's causing it, the internet to mess up like it is, but it's not just me. Well, Nancy, you'll get there. You just keep watching and taking notes and making and giving to your family and friends. And when I first started, I just bought a bunch of cheap cups. At that time, Dollar Tree had stainless steel cups that they were not double insulated. This is the type cup that it was, and they were $1, and they had black at the bottom and black at the top, and I bought a bunch of those up, and that's what I used to practice on. And they don't even carry them anymore, which usually that's the way it goes. Anything that you find that you really can use and need, then they don't carry it anymore. So that's life, I guess. We all go through it. Okay, now when I put the epoxy on, I always heat my cup first, because you're putting so little epoxy on there that it'd take it forever to try to rub it in. So if you'll take your heat gun and heat your tumbler first and get it good and hot, then that little bit of epoxy will just glide on like butter. It makes all the difference in the world. So if you hadn't tried it, try it. It really works to get it good and hot. And you can see I've just got that tiny bit in there. And I don't worry about the bubbles when I'm doing this, because it's going to be under the glitter and there's not going to be enough of it to have many bubbles. Okay, and you can see that little bit that I've got on there, and that's all I'm going to be using on this cup. And this is a 30-ounce skinny. So you can see it's just sliding on very easily. Very easily. To most of you, do you do the epoxy method? Hi, Pat. How are you? If you ever miss, I always save the videos so you can go back and watch them later. And when you're putting your epoxy on for this method, make sure that you've got it covered good. You don't want to leave any spots that doesn't have the epoxy on it, because you want to be able for it to glitter all over. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing and starting a live and doing some glitter drops and sparkle pops. I'll do that tomorrow at 3. But this one we're doing Black Bear glitters, and we're doing the Bare Necessities collection. And tonight we'll be using the Red Velvet. And not tomorrow, or not the number 2, but in number 3 we'll be using some more of the Black Bear's glitter. So now I'm just making sure I've got the whole tumbler covered top and bottom. I want it really good around my tape. Okay. Now I'm going to set this down while I take my glove off. And then we're going to get this glittered, and then we're going to be through with part one. And this, I would not even have to put it on the turner. There's so little epoxy on there, it's not going to move. So you really don't even have to put it on the turner unless you just want to. And like I said, I've seen so many people that the mistake they make when they're doing the epoxy method is putting way too much epoxy on there. You just don't need it. It just doesn't take that much. If you use too much, then you're going to have spots that have so much epoxy that the glitter does not soak it up, and it has slick spots all over it. And you have to just keep piling glitter on it. This red velvet is beautiful. Beautiful. Can you see how pretty that is? I mean, talk about sparkle. But this is what we'll be doing tonight. I will, while you're on here, I'll go ahead and pull the tape. So you can see that I pull my tape right away. And I want to show you this glitter when I get through and put it back in the bottle. It still nearly runs over. Takes very little. Looks like I'm just using a ton of it, but it takes very little. And when you're using a base that matches your tumbler, you save on so much glitter doing that too. Okay, look at that. Just beautiful, beautiful. Okay, now let's see how much. Now you can see when I put it on, there's still about that much in the bottle. But we're going to put this back in there. And look at it. It's such of a deep red velvet. It's got even a black look to it. Beautiful. Okay. You see that's full again. And I've still got this much glitter in there, so I've got to bump it down to keep it from running over. And then this paper's got just a little bit on it, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, now this, all I'm going to do is pull the tape, and then I'll let this sit. And then in the morning, what I'll do, I'll put a coat of epoxy on it, so it will be dry for the next time that we get ready to do part two. And with part two, we'll put the plaid on it. And then once we do the plaid, then we'll have to epoxy it again. And see the spot right here where the tape overlapped? All I'll do with that, I'll take my X-Acto knife and scrape that right there and wipe it off. Normally I would wipe it off anyway, but because it doesn't have a lot of epoxy on it, that's more paint than it is epoxy and glitter. And there's, you can't even hardly see the one at the top. The one at the top, there's just a tiny spot right there. I don't know if you can see it. But that's all that we'll do tonight. And that's when you do the epoxy method and you do it with very little epoxy, you don't have to go back and do a second coat. I won't go back and do a second coat on this because it's perfect just like it is. But that's all that we need to do tonight. And since that was so short, it's only been 15 minutes. If anybody's got any questions, I'll take time and answer them right quick. Let me go back and see the ones that I haven't answered. This method is good, Pat. If anybody that hadn't used it, if they'll try it, they won't go back to Mod Podge. And that's the same way I feel about doing a fabric tumbler. Once you use the polyacrylic for a fabric, you'll never go back to Mod Podge. It's so much faster and it's not as messy. It's so much easier. Triana, that's not how you pronounce it. Please give me a pronunciation of it. But it is a great method. You do need to try it. At least try it once, and I don't think you'll go back to another method once you do that. And the color is beautiful. Again, it's red velvet, and I mean, it's just, you can just almost see black in it. It's such a deep, deep red. It is very, very pretty. Very pretty. Thank you, Cindy. I think it's pretty too. Well, okay, folks. I'm not going to stay on now. If anybody comes on and you watch it later and you've got any questions, just know that the next session, part 2, we will be doing the plaids on the cup. And then in session 3, we'll be doing the peekaboo and the bleach splatter. And we'll be using some tacket. And go from there. And once we do those steps, it'll be in 3 parts. And then the final, of course, finished product, I'll go back and post it when I'm completely finished with it, after the epoxy and everything's on it, so that you can really see a better application of how the finished product looks. But this is red velvet. Makes you want to take a bite. Makes me want some red velvet cake. What about you guys? So y'all have a great evening, and I appreciate you joining in. And again, we'll do part 2, and I'll announce it. I'll put it in the events when we do part 2, and you can join in for that. We'll be doing the plaid on part 2. So thank you for joining in, and y'all have a great evening. Bye now. Hey everybody, we're going to do part 2 of our buffalo tumbler tonight, and I'm going to show you how we do that. I do it with a water slide. So we're going to do part 2, and I've done a few of the strips on it before we get started so that I can show you what it looks like. But we'll be doing part 3 on another day. What we'll do today, we will finish part 2, and I will then tonight or in the morning put epoxy on this coat, and then we'll go to step 3. Step 3, we're going to be doing our bleach spot, and we're going to be doing some decals for a peekaboo, and we're also going to be doing some tacket, and we'll do all that in part 3. So I'm going to turn you down, and we're going to get started. I'm going to see if I can get you pulled up on my phone. I think you can see it. Let me turn it a little bit more. Okay, let me see if I can get you pulled up now on my computer so I can see, and then we'll dig in and get started. And I hope it pulls up tonight so I can see what we're doing and make sure you can see everything that's going on. Hey, it did. Yay, okay. Now I'm going to put some hot water in here for my water slides. I work in the basement, so I had to bring a tumbler with some hot water downstairs. But this is what the tumbler looks like. First thing that we did, we glittered it, and we used Black Bear glitters, and we used red velvet. And I taped the top and the bottom, and then I sanded, and then I cleaned the cup. Now with this one, when I started cutting some of the strips, I realized I made them about 1/8 of an inch too short, so didn't have time to redo them. So to improvise, I just put a black band around the top, so that way it would make it fit at the bottom. And then we will still have to cut a little bit of excess off once this dries, but that's just the beginning of it. And now I'm going to show you from there what we're going to do. And I have this is 8.5 by 11, but I've already cut 2 strips off of it. And when I cut the strips off, I cut them in line with the actual water slide, and you'll see that when I start showing you when we put them on. But I cut 3 pages each time that I cut, and then when we start them, you always are going to start with a black at the top, and then you go with your design next to it, and then you go again with a black at the top, and I'll show you as we go around. So I'm going to go ahead and lay some in this warm water, and we're going to let them be getting ready so we can get them on the tumblers, and it won't take as long. But I've done this one before, and I think there's a lot of new people on here maybe since then that may have not seen. Let's see, trying to get it so that I can see where we can get it where you can see it good. It looks like it's not showing all of it. Maybe right there. Okay, so we're going to let that stay in there, and I am going to get it to where I can look at some of your questions, and that way if anybody comes in, you know, when I do a live, I do not answer questions most of the time while I'm doing the live, while I'm working. I go back after the live's over and I answer any questions that you have, and I'll either do that tonight or I'll do it in the morning. So I'll get you some answers, and if I don't know some answers, we'll see if we can find some for you. But to me, this is just a much easier way, and it turns out with just a beautiful buffalo plaid. And so that's what we're going to do with this, and we're just using water slides, and I put them in warm water, and when you put them in warm water they just fall off seemingly. That one curled up. Okay, now when you got it to where it's ready to fall off, then we're just going to slide this off and line it up at the top. Very simple. And then when you line it up at the top, then you can see how you can get all of your lines here lined up. And you will have a little bit of overhang at the bottom, and you want to try to keep it as straight as you can. You will have a little bit of overlap because on this cup, this is a 30-ounce hog, and I'll have a little overlap on it because it's a little bit smaller at the bottom than it is at the top. So as I go around, I'm going to have a little bit of overlap on it. But I still want to try to keep all of my squares lined up. And then just take you a paper towel and very lightly. Now I'm not pressing hard at all. I'm just barely pressing. And it just slides right on there. Now we're going to go to the next one. And I'm going to wet it just a little bit with the water from the water slide. Slide it off, and then you're going to line it up. It's okay for it to overlap a little bit, because remember, it's getting small and it's going to make everything else fit. Barely wipe it down, very easily. On just a little bit. Trusty brush, but always try to put your thumb, press your water out because you don't want bubbles under it. Slides off, hold it at the top, and then just pull your paper out. Then slide it over so that it fits. Well, it looks like on my computer it's sort of stalled, but when I turn upside down and look at the, just hang in there with me and we'll get you some answers, and maybe it's going to work. It doesn't look like the phone's paused, even though my computer is. very light. And then you'll see around the bottom here, there is in some places, there's some that hangs over a little bit. And when this dries completely, then I'll go back with an X-Acto knife and trim that. But I won't do it until it's dry, because I don't want it to move around on me. Okay. Now, put a little water on it and wet it. Slide it out, and if you put it in warm water, remember it's going to release a lot easier and a lot faster too. Try to keep it straight and line it up at the top. Dry my brush off. It looks like the phone's still working. I hope it is, even though it's not on my computer. On my computer it says that. Let me see if I can log out and log back in. No, for some reason it's not letting me. But anyway, it looks like it's working on the phone, and that's what matters, because that's what's doing the recording. Okay. Make sure you keep your squares lined up. Mine got off just a little bit there. So, line it back up. Hold your thumb at the top and it'll help hold it in place. Okay. Before I put that one in, I'm going to get some more of these in there. May have to cut some more. Slide the paper off. And if you let it slide that way, it doesn't get as many air bubbles under it. Line it up at the top. Lightly run your cloth over it. And that cloth's really wet, so I'm going to get one that's a little bit drier. I'm turning upside down to see my phone, you guys, so that I can sort of see that it's not pausing and it's staying on, and you can sort of see what I'm doing. I'm going to take a minute and go out of this group and come back in and see if maybe it comes back on. Maybe you're not having problem on your end that I'm having. Let's see. Okay, it looks like it's back up. Okay. That one hadn't been in there quite long enough, because you want it to slide off real easy when you do it. And that one, I hadn't had it in there long enough. But maybe I can answer some questions while I'm waiting for it to... Okay, I see there's about 49, 50 people on here, so, and I see there's several questions, so I will go back, remember, when the live's over, and I'll answer any of your questions. I see that one's not moving, so I got to leave it in there a little bit longer. Let me see if I can answer some. Hey Debbie. Yeah, we got a live on this one so that you can see how it's done. And Christy, have you not tried this before? I've got another live on here where I did the water slides for the buffalo plaid. You'll have to go back and watch it too. Hey Snooks. I see Brenda shared it with a friend. That's good. Thank you. Snooks, you've seen this one before, I think, haven't you? Joy, I'm glad you were able to catch us live. That's great. I'm going to be doing several lives this week, so just watch for the events, and you'll see where they're announced, where I'll be doing them. I've got 3 beach tumblers to do, so I think I will probably go live and do that so that you can see it too. It will be with glitter, and with it I'll be using Black Bear glitters to do the beach tumbler. I had a friend that called last week and wanted 3. She wanted one for her and her 2 sisters, and she wanted them glitter, so that's what we'll be doing. So I hadn't done a beach one in a long time, but I do have a live on here with the beach one that's glitter, and then a beach one that's no glitter. So if you want to try to catch those, if you need to make any beach tumblers, you can do that. But they are saved, so you can just go back and click on my name when you see it pull up, and then it will pull up all the lives that I've done and saved to the group. Okay, I don't think I'm going to have to do another one. I think we're going to have it come out just about right. Remember, hold it close to your cup, and that way it doesn't get as many bubbles in it. Line up your squares. And this is just such an easy process, and it turns out a beautiful tumbler. And with this red velvet glitter, it's really turning out beautiful, especially with the black. That red velvet glitter it's got a black look to it, so it really makes it work good using the black plaid. Okay, looks like that's going to come out just about right, folks. Now when I did this one, I did when I cut out my strips, I sort of laid one down and then put them side by side around it to make sure that this strip was going to come out correct. And I saw that I needed to just a hair lap some of them over so that it would come out right, and it did. It came out perfect doing that. Okay, can you believe a buffalo plaid's done that quick? Can you see how pretty it is? I don't know if the light's picking it up or not, but when we do the finished product, you can always see the glitter much better then, and how pretty it is through there. But that's a buffalo plaid done with a water slide. And the water slide's cut into strips. And when you put the strips on, then it just makes it so easy for it to glide on there. And it came out just right. The only thing, when I did it, I didn't make it quite long enough, so I did have to put a black strip around the top, which it doesn't take away from it at all. It's, you know, it looks really pretty. So tonight or tomorrow, it'll probably be tomorrow, because I want this I want my water slides to dry overnight, and with them drying overnight, then I'll put epoxy on it tomorrow. And when I put epoxy on it tomorrow, then I'll schedule a time that we'll go in and we'll do part 3. And part 3, we're going to add a peekaboo, we're going to add a bleach splatter on it, and we're going to do a couple of things on it with tack it. So just join us for that, and I will announce it in the events when we're going to have that. So I hope this was helpful to some of you that's maybe never seen this before and never done a buffalo plaid this way. But remember, we used Black Bear glitters, and we used red velvet for our base for the glitter, and we put that on there with the epoxy method and let it dry, and then I put a coat of epoxy over that, and then we got to the point to where we started tonight, because you always want to do your water slides on a smooth, shiny surface. So I always, if I'm going to do clear water slides, I always put a coat of epoxy on it first and make sure that it's smooth. So there we go. So all right, I hope everybody has a great rest of the evening, and I'll go in and answer any of the questions that you've got and get you some answers. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll announce when we go back again. Thank you, and y'all have a good evening. Hey everybody, we are going to finish up our Buffalo Plaid tumbler tonight. I have changed one thing. We are not going to do anything with tacket. After I thought about it and I looked at the glitter that I had that I was going to use, I just don't think it will work with tacket. It's not fine enough, and I didn't have a white that was the ultra fine to make it work. So we're not going to do the tacket, but we're going to do everything else. So I'm going to turn you down and I'll explain to you what we've done so far and then where we're going to get where we need to be. Okay, and in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can pull you up on the computer. It may take a while, and then again it may pop right up. Who knows? We just never know. Never know. Just give me just a minute, and we'll go from here. So this is the Buffalo Plaid that we did, and I'll explain to you all the things that I did on it. Okay, I still can't get you pulled up, so we'll wait and go back to the drawing board in a few minutes. But anyway, I went ahead and put the decals on it. We've got the bear paw prints going up to where Mama Bear is, and we've got our snowflakes. And I did have to go back in and sand around the bottom. You can see where it's sort of dull. I did sand that after I put the coat of epoxy on it, but I got a good smooth coat of epoxy on it. And now what we're going to do, we're going to do right in here the bleach spot, and then we're going to pull these decals. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I got some saran wrap, and with the saran wrap I'm just going to sort of cover up a little bit of what I don't want the bleach splatter to go on. I'm going to try to keep it, this won't stop all of it, but it will just sort of help, because it's sort of going to cling to the cup, and spots that we don't want covered with white paint, which will be our bleach spot, then that's what we're covering up. And then we just roll it around to the other side, and then on this side just sort of going to touch it in this way and this way. Okay, now we're going to wad that excess up, and you can see where I just sort of just wrapped it just enough that I didn't want it to get on these other spots, so when I spray it, it's not going to get on there. So I am fixing to spray it right quick, and y'all just hang in there, because I'm going to get over here and spray it, and it'll take me just a minute to do it. And this time I am going to put on my gloves. Before this morning I didn't, and I had red paint all over my hands, all up my arm. So I'm going to take a little bit of precaution tonight, and that way I won't get quite as much all over me. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So y'all just hang in there with me. It'll take me just a minute to spray this. And just talk among yourselves. Now, I got that, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do so we won't have any harsh lines. Okay, and I've got a dirty rag, and I've got a sponge, and I'm going to go in here and we're going to blot those lines and sort of soften them up a little bit. I can find what I'm looking for. So we just don't want those lines to be quite so harsh and so noticeable. So I'm just using a sponge, and I've got a little bit of acetone. You don't want a lot, but I've got just a little bit of acetone. So I'm just sort of rubbing that. We're going to make it sort of be more of a smoky look than a straight line. Now we're going to go back and do the same thing on this side. Get a little bit more acetone on there. Make that blend a little bit better. Okay, now I'm going to dry it with my heat gun. Then we're going to pull off our decals. And let's see what we can do now. See, I think I'll start down here. And these are our snowflakes. We're going to pull them off on one side, but then we're going to leave them on the other side. And these are bigger than the ones we worked with this morning, so they're not going to be quite as hard to pull off. And you would think they'd pull off in one piece, but that's not the way it works sometimes. Okay, now you can see how that's looking. And then this is the back side, and I think the buffalo plaid turned out really pretty doing it with the water slide. And I'm going to try one more time to get you pulled up, because doing this I can look and sort of see what's going on and answer some questions. And remember, I don't answer questions normally when I'm working, so if you have any questions, you just leave them in the comments and we will go in there and we will get you some answers. And any comments and questions that you have, I always go back at the end of the live. I'll either do it tonight or in the morning. I will probably have time to do it tonight because this is not going to be a long live. Won't take long to do this one because we're going to pull these few and then put the epoxy on. And then this is going to be ready to go. Okay, it's looking really pretty. And I hope we're not pausing and going on and off. I can't see to tell if it's doing that or not. If it is and you miss anything, just ask me in the comments and I will go back and answer any questions that you've got. Try one more time, see if I can get you pulled up. I just don't understand why it takes it so long to kick in to where you can actually pull it up and see it. Let me go at it at a different angle and see if maybe I can get it to work. No. Nope, it's just not going to do it, so we'll just go forward the way we're going. And then I'll answer any questions later. And my husband is doing really good, and I never have had any sign of COVID, and I've been with him the whole time, so you know, I don't know. I'm just thankful that I haven't, and I'm thankful that he's doing well and doing better. And it's been 2 full weeks. Tuesday was 2 full weeks since he had it, so he's doing really good now. And several of you has asked about him, and I certainly appreciate it. And I know several of you were praying for us, and I'm so thankful that you were, because I think things like that really help all of us. It's when we know somebody cares. There's some little pieces that fell on that. Okay, now we're fixing to pull off the biggie that's really going to make it pop. This is going to be a really pretty tumbler. This one would have been pretty to do it with the foam dish detergent. Excuse me just a minute. I had a mishap over here I'm having to deal with. Okay. Now, sorry about that. Okay, let me get this mess cleaned up and then I'll show it to you. Make sure there's not any of the tape sticking. Y'all excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on over here with my cups. Okay. Now then, I'm sorry. There we go. Now you can see it. And now we're going to get some epoxy on it. And then we'll pull the tape. And then we'll see how pretty this thing's going to be. I think I'm going to go back and work around it just a little bit with some more of the acetone. Maybe fix it so it looks more like a geode around the edges. Now I'll do it with alcohol. And now the alcohol will clean up any spots that we've got on there. Okay, I'm thinking I'm liking it a little better. Liking it a little better. And I'm going from one to the other. I'm using the acetone and then I'm going back with the alcohol to clean up around it. Okay, now going back with the acetone this time. Now I'm going to go back with the alcohol. Clean up around the edges a little bit. Back with the acetone right in here. Back with the alcohol. Uh-oh, I wiped off one of the bare toes. Let me go back and see if I can get it back over here where it's supposed to be. That's a little bitty claw. Yeah. Okay. I hope you can see it. This is alcohol again. Just cleaning up the edges to where it makes it sort of cloudy looking, to where I wiped off the white paint. So I'm going in now and just cleaning that up around the edges. And that toe, I'm just going to probably have to find me another foot and put on there. Okay. Okay, now we're going to mix some epoxy. And I'm going to mix what I normally would for a 30 ounce. This is a 30 ounce skinny. So I'll be doing 1 tablespoon of A and 1 tablespoon of B. And I will put some of the casting craft in this because of the white that's on here. We don't want that white to yellow. Clean your spoon out real good, or whatever you use, how you mix. Everybody does it their own way. It's just the way I started, and it's the way I've done it for over 3 years. So, well, going closer to 4 years, I guess. And we'll mix it for 4 minutes. Anytime I do a 30 ounce cup or larger, I mix them out for 4 minutes. Have to be patient and take the steps you need to take. I've never had a tumbler that come out sticky. They've always come out and cured like they're supposed to, and I don't know if that's the reason or not, but I'm saying it is because I always mix it the same way. Always make sure that I stir it that length of time. And hopefully I'm going to be able to get this pulled up now, because that way I can go back and answer some questions while I'm stirring. So I will try it again, and I'm going to put not even a drop in here. I'll show you how much I put in there. You can see just that little bit that I put in there, just barely got it on my popsicle stick. Set my timer, and before I start stirring, I am gonna see if I can pull it up. See if by chance it has come up. It's certainly been long enough. It should have come up by now. So let's see. I'm still not seeing it. I've gone in several different ways to see if I could find it, but it's just not coming up. So we're going to go ahead and stir, stir, stir. And I can't turn upside down to see. I can see there's some comments on there, but I can't turn to see what they are. So be sure and just leave any comments you've got, and know that I'll go back in after the live and answer any questions that you've got. And we'll get this epoxy on here, and then we're going to pull the tape on each end, and this will turn all night, and we'll be good to go. Scrape your edges real good. I always go around the edges several times so that there's any epoxy that's on the side, and I know there is in some places where I wipe my popsicle stick off after I clean my spoon out. So there's always some down the side, so that way I make sure it all mixes good. You want to make sure it mixes up really good. And this cup, we did it with the water slide for the buffalo plaid. We did a base of red velvet, and it's black bear glitters. And if you'll use all caps Judy Roars 20, one word, then you can get 20% off of any purchase that you make with them. And tomorrow, about 3 o'clock, I'm going to hop on and I'm going to do just a quick live showing how you can use this same file that I used to make the water slide to adjust it and make it work on almost any size tumbler. So if you want to pop on for that about 3 o'clock, I'll be doing that tomorrow. And if you don't get to pop on then, you can go back and watch a replay. But that will help you see that one file, you can make it work for several different size cups. And then this afternoon, I did just a pop-up live just to show you how I fix the box with the heater to work with my cups to help dry them instead of using a regular heat box or buying a heat box. And with the heat blowing on it, it dries to touch within 4 hours. And then you can go on to the next step. Now you can't handle it a lot, but you can go on to the next step. It's dry enough that you can. Or you can take it off the turner, and it's okay to take it off and let it set at that point. If I'm not using that, I want to let my cup turn a good 8 hours before I take it off the turner. When I first started, I had found that my cups were getting waves in them. And I was taking them off the turner too soon. And as they set overnight, the epoxy just sort of started drooping and falling, and it made waves all the way down the tumbler. So I've learned to leave it on there turning for at least 8 hours, or if I'm using the heater, then I can leave it on there for a good 4 hours and then take it off if I want to. Okay, we've got that stirred now, and then we're gonna let it set just a little bit, and then we're going to hit it with the heat gun, hit the epoxy with the heat gun to get some of the bubbles out after they come to the top. We'll give it time for them to come to the top, and while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go in and again and try to get on here where maybe I can answer some of your questions. I just don't know why it's not pulling up and showing the live when we are live, so I don't know. If anybody's got any idea why it would be doing that, please let me know. I just don't understand why it's doing it, but when I pull it up, all I can see is the other things that I've done during the day today. I don't know. Oh well, can't get it to pull up, so we'll just give up on that. Now you can see all the bubbles. See all the bubbles that we've got? I'm gonna go in and just barely hit that with my heat gun, and it'll help get rid of some of those bubbles. And then we can go ahead and get this on the tumbler. I'm gonna get it to turning. Get me on some gloves. Let's see. I think that's where you can see it pretty good. Make sure you coat your cup good from top to bottom. If you don't take the top and bottom off, then you know to do your bottoms and take your epoxy all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. Then we'll put a good coat on it. And I'm taking mine all the way to the top where my tape is, because I will be pulling the tape before we turn the live off. taking it all the way to the bottom. Be pulling the tape around the bottom. And this epoxy, I use Alumilite Amazing Clear Cast, and it likes the temperature between 68 and 72 degrees, seemingly. Of course, anything hotter, he likes okay, but working in the basement, it stays, even in the summertime, it's about 70 down here. And then in the wintertime, it will drop down to about 65, 66. It's really cold outside, it'll drop down to 64. So I do run the heater for that reason. But it really likes it between 68 and 72 degrees. Okay, clean this off. And I'm going to go in and clean up a few drops right under here where it dropped on my turner. And I have got a metal aluminum plate that I should have put under here to begin with, and I did not. Now I'm going to take what I've got left and just drizzle it on here. And then I will leave a little bit in my cup, so if I need it to touch up any spots, I'll have it. Let it turn just a little bit, and then I'll hit it with the heat gun or the torch. I'll probably torch it. If you let it turn just a little bit, that gives it time for any bubbles to come to the top that might be on there. So we'll see if we can get any bubbles to come up, but it looks like it's going to turn out really nice. I need to check my bear claws and see if that little spot stayed on there. I forgot about it. It looks like it did. As long as it doesn't float off, looks like we're good. The claw stayed on there. And this may or may not have to have another coat of epoxy. I don't ever say never until I let it turn for the 8 hours. Okay, now I'm going to pull the tape. When you pull that tape, it really starts to look good. And there's the little spot that we normally have. See if there's any other spots I want to take care of. Okay, now we're going to pull the tape on the bottom. Wait for that spot to come around, see if it's there. Sometimes it's not there. I didn't have one this time either. Okay, so now we didn't need this, so I'm going to pull that up. Then I'm going to turn the cup around so that you can see it. To get my cord undone. I think that way you can see the whole thing. This is a 30-ounce skinny, and we did it with red velvet glitter as the base. And then we did our buffalo plaid design with a water slide. And then we put on a good coat of epoxy, and then put on the snowflakes. And then we spray painted our bleach spot and got it like we wanted it, and then pulled the decals off of the bleach spot so that the buffalo plaid would show through. And then we left the snowflakes on the back side so that you could see them and see how pretty they are. So that's what we've got going on right now. So we'll let this turn tonight, and then it looks like it will not have to have another coat of epoxy, but you never know till they get dry exactly what's going to be going on with the tumbler. So that's where we are right now, and this is all we've got for this video.